trumpets, there's the drums, here he comes. Hopalong Cassidy, here.
I was headed for Frank Sawyer's construction camp with Army credentials signed by Major Rollins, Commandant of Fort O'Reilly, Arizona Territory. My orders were to troubleshoot a series of raids on supplies and equipment which had halted the proposed telegraph line linking a network of Army posts between Tombstone and O'Reilly. Foreman Jack Lawson claimed it was almost impossible to hire back men who had been scared off their job. Frank Sawyer and his daughter Jane had already overspent their low bid for the network building franchise when they received the $25,000 subsidy which Major Rollins had persuaded the War Department to grant them. Big John Bragg, an influential citizen of Tombstone and a pioneer trader of the territory, had been in on my conference with Major Rollins.
Hello, Bragg.
Hello.
We got the money from the government.
Good. And Hopalong Cassidy will be here after he brushes up on his telegraphy.
I certainly hope he can get to the bottom of this mess.
Oh, look, Frank. As far as I'm concerned, it's the Apaches in back of those raids on the telegraph.
But they're afraid of what they call devil's lightning.
Jane's right. It's more apt to be a group of white men out to grab control for their own private profit.
I think Dad's right.
Frank Sawyer?
That's right.
The name's Cassidy.
Oh.
Hopalong Cassidy.
I was just getting the facts and figures together for you and I to go over.
I'll have to wait till I get back. I'm going on to Tombstone.
Today?
It's the way I work, Sawyer. You've got the government subsidy from the War Department, haven't you?
Yes, it's in the safe. You can draw on it as you need it.
Good. I'll take it all. Now.
$25,000? But Cassidy, there's a wagon load of supplies on the way. Enough to last till we move to the next camp.
I've been hired to ramrod this job, Sawyer. I'm going to line up the men and the material to see it through.
Well, of course, I guess you know what you're doing. I'll get it for you. That's Tombstone asking confirmation of the supply order I dispatched yesterday. Answer, will you? Well, why don't you answer?
We're not through yet. The thing is still ticking.
These credentials say that you're thoroughly trained in telegraphy.
Yeah, sure. So what?
So you'd know Tombstone was merely repeating their request. So I don't think you're Hopalong Cassidy.
The next day, that construction camp was a discouraging sight. I had no way of knowing that Sawyer's daughter and his construction foreman had just returned from a simple burial in that lonely wilderness.
Did you say that killer wore a black outfit and rode a white horse?
Yes, why?
How do you do, miss?
That's a gun, mister. You got some questions to answer.
Hey, I'm afraid you're making a mistake. My name's Cassidy.
You admit that? After murdering my father and stealing $25,000?
Murdering your father? I don't...
Cover him. I'll see if he's got any of that money on him.
Hey, wait a minute now. I was sent here, but...
You'll be sent to Kingdom Come if you don't stand still now. He doesn't have it on him.
Miss, really, I don't know anything about any money.
I saw you ride away from here.
Now talk, mister. Where is her? I'll let you have it.
No, Lawson. I'll wire the marshal at Tombstone. There's been enough killing.
I'll take the responsibility for this one.
Stop or I'll shoot!
I wouldn't do that if I was you, ma'am. Hi, Hoppy.
Hi, Red. I'm just about to be executed without benefit of trial. Excuse me. Miss, this is Red Connors, my ranch foreman. Before I left Fort O'Reilly, I sent word for him to meet me here.
I done a lot of ornery things in my day, ma'am, but working for a killer ain't one of them. You got Hoppy all wrong.
Then try to explain this.
That letter floored me. It was worded exactly like the credentials and orders I had received in strict confidence at Fort O'Reilly. You think you'd better take that message?
Mr. Lawson, our foreman, doesn't operate a telegraph.
Oh, well, I'll take it while you look at my credentials that Major Rollins gave me. This letter's a forgery. Well, does the official seal of the United States Army explain the difference?
I'm sorry.
So am I, Cassidy. But you've made this trip for nothing. Miss Jane's giving up. She's going home.
Everything is gone. What else can I do?
Well, do what your father would have done. Fight. Major Rollins told me that he taught you all he knew about engineering. This job was his dream. You can't give up now.
The Sawyer Construction Company's gone broke. The government won't gamble anymore.
Well, there's nothing wrong with private capital. Is your father's interest in this company for sale? Good. I'll wire the Tombstone Mercantile for an emergency loan. Banks have loaned money on the bar 20 before.
Well, in that case, I'll go see if there are any of those poles I can salvage.
That message I took a while ago said there'd be a load of supplies in this afternoon, so I'll take this map and look over the survey. I want you to know I'm awfully sorry about your father.
Thank you.
See you later.
Say, Hoppy.
Yeah?
Bar 20's never borrowed a nickel from any bank, and you know it.
But Jane and her foreman don't know that. I had to do something to keep her walking off the job.
How long do you figure you can keep up a plan like this?
Well, till we get back some of the money and materials that have been stolen from the Sawyers back. I hope.
You got any ideas?
Red, those raiders had to get confidential information some way. And for a man who's not supposed to know anything about telegraphy, Lawson was mighty interested in those messages coming and going over that instrument. Huh?
There's a cayuse Lawson took off on.
And there's a horse that looks pretty much like Topper, too. Hey, this is getting to be right interesting.
Which shall we trail, Lawson or the other?
No, go after the one Lawson pulled away from that white horse. We might find that he's got a black outfit to go with it. Come on. Oh, never mind them. Wagon's safe. Turk Shams.
Didn't you run him out of Kansas?
Yeah. And he'd have known how to fake that outfit of mine and try to get even by framing me for murder, too. But he couldn't possibly have known the details of my credentials. Somebody had to forge those for him. See what he's got here. Well, probably part of that money stolen from Sawyer.
And I'll bet that Jack Lawson got the rest of it.
Wait a minute. What's the hurry?
Well, we saw Jack Lawson send him.
We're going to report we ran onto this by accident.
Well, can't he even tell Miss Jane you got her daddy's killer?
I'd like to, Red, but I don't want Lawson to know about this till I find out who he's working for. If he finds out now, we're right back where we started from.
What do you mean?
They can replace Lawson. These fellas are playing for big stakes. He's not smart enough or rich enough to boss this deal.
Well, who is?
That's only a guess as to who. But I'm beginning to get a brand new slant on why.
So?
So we're going to have a look in on that trading post at Burning Springs. We better do something about him. That night, after sneaking out of the camp and jimmying a window at the trading post, I was about to give up the search inside when I discovered the false bottom in one of the desk drawers.
Wire under this building to fence the bar 20.
Yeah? Wait a minute. This book's got a list of a whole chain of trading posts. And the names of the men who were supposed to own them.
Well, what's so exciting about that?
Here, read these off to me.
Wait.
Come on, read them off.
Fort Smith Trading Post.
Yeah?
James Uniker.
Uniker? Yeah.
Sandstone Trading Post.
Yeah.
George,
Hold it. Somebody coming. Duck.
All right, you're covered. Come on out.
I'm all tuckered out.
You can turn in now. Just give me that book.
What book?
The ledger I gave you at the trading post.
Gosh, Hoppy, I ain't got it. I used it to put out the light. Was it important?
Red, that ledger was written proof that Big John Bragg owns this whole string of trading posts. Those other names in there don't mean a thing.
Who's Big John Bragg?
Oh, never mind now. But if that man at the trading post recognized us, we're going to have to move fast.
What do you mean?
We'd have a tough time proving how much money John Bragg stands to lose by letting that telegraph get into the territory.
Well, don't worry, Hoppy. I'll think up something.
The next morning, Lawson made a point of reminding Jane that I hadn't received approval of the loan I requested. That gave me a good excuse for getting away from the camp. I told him I was going to look into the matter and signaled Red to follow as soon as he got a chance.
You dragged me all the way out here just to look at the scenery?
That's right. And you better take a good look at it while it's still pretty. I expect something ugly to be added any minute.
That what you mean?
That's right. Now you know what Big John Bragg looks like. I sent for him last night.
Just to satisfy my curiosity, I'll bet. You sent for him?
Sure. But I did take the liberty of signing Jack Lawson's name to the telegram.
Mr. Cassidy, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. That poor Jasper looks like he's been riding all night long.
Never underestimate the power of the telegraph, Mr. Connors. Now we'll see what happens to Mr. Lawson. Come on.
When are you going to start letting me in on your brainstorm?
Whenever you learn to stay awake. And when I get up on the pole, I'm going to throw this wire down. I want you to tie it off that steel stake down there.
You know, I never know what I'm doing till after I've got it done. I'm wide awake now, and I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what you're doing.
You will in a minute. Get off your horse and catch this wire. Here he comes. Hold on to it now. Tie it off that stake. Got it tight? All right.
Oh, Hoppy! Hoppy!
Little hot, huh? Take your hand off of that.
Hello, Byers.
Bragg, what's wrong?
Where's Lawson? He wired me to meet him here.
I don't know. I haven't seen him since Cassidy beat us to a supply shipment.
He hinted that Cassidy was getting wise to the setup.
Then it was Cassidy.
What are you talking about?
2 thieves that broke in here last night. I caught them going through the desk.
Get rid of it. Take it away and hide it.
Big John, I'm sure glad you're here. Cassidy has raised enough money for Jane Sawyer to finish that line to Arribe.
How do you know?
I just intercepted a message from Tombstone Mercantile. Said the money was due to arrive by special messenger today. Now, if it gets here...
Where is Cassidy?
He's on his way to Tombstone, and he's bound to run into that messenger. But if I just had enough men...
Just a minute. If Cassidy was on his way to Tombstone, he'd have run into me. Did you wire me to meet you here this morning?
Why, no.
It's a trap.
What?
And I'm not going to take a chance of losing all the time and money I've got in this thing. We'll take cover on the outside. And if and when Cassidy rides up, we'll let him have it.
All right, back inside. Come on, get over there. Get over. You had a good idea, but you should have thought of it a little sooner.
I don't know what you're talking about.
With the War Department will, especially when they have proof of your reasons for conniving with a bunch of cutthroats to murder Frank Sawyer. Red, see if the other man's here. Yeah. Get over to the desk. Come on, get over there. And you knew that the telegraph would make it unnecessary for the Army to maintain permanent garrisons in this string of forts. And that when those garrisons moved out, your contracts to feed the troops would be worth practically nothing. Contracts that you've been collecting thousands of legitimate dollars a year on.
Yeah, not to count the thousands he's been gouging out of the government by padding, overcharging, and shortwave.
That's very nice, Cassidy. But you're forgetting my standing in the Arizona Territory. I wonder whose word the law would take. Yours or mine?
Oh, we know you're a big man in the Arizona Territory. Influential with the law and all that. That's why we had to have proof. Keep them covered, Red.
Hold it! Sure, Cassidy. I've been fighting to keep the telegraph out of my territory. I reckon I'm guilty of all the things you figured out, even of sending Turk Shans to pose as you and kill Frank Sawyer if need be. Yes, I risked everything to stop the War Department in their last fling with the telegraph. But I've won, Cassidy, and you won't be around to tell them how. While I'm still judge and jury here, get over there. I'm ordering an execution with a 3-man firing squad. Ready? Aim.
Here he comes!
Come in, Jane.
Miss Jane, you just robbed us of a couple of golden harps.
I only did what Hoppy told me to do. Kept out of sight and trailed the first man I saw leaving with the book.
Oh, that book means smooth sailing from now on. Fortunately, I forgot to tell you when to quit following the man. All right, Big John, on your feet. Get the others, Red. From here on, we'll let the telegraph take over. Come on. Hi, my young friends. You know, I've had a lot of letters in the last 6 or 8 months about you not wearing your raincoats and your overshoes. Now, the reason you don't see Hoppy in a raincoat and overshoes is that I live in a country where there isn't too much rain. But you must always, when it is raining, wear your raincoats and your overshoes. And there's one more thought, too. Don't leave them at the schoolhouse. Bring them home, will you? I'll see you next week. And be sure and wear those, will you?
There he goes on his way down the the moonlit trail to where cowboys race. Hopalong Cassidy, Hopalong Cassidy, he'll return soon again. There's no use to say goodbye until then. Hopalong Cassidy, here he comes, here he comes. There's the trumpets, there's the drums, here he comes. Hopalong Cassidy, here he
Last April, a Wells Fargo stage headed for Tucson with $50,000 in gold was held up by daring bandits. The driver was killed, but no trace had ever been found of Harry Gordon, the one-legged shotgun guard. Then 6 months later, with the case still unsolved, hijackers struck again, getting another large gold shipment from the mint and killing more men. As acting marshal of Twin Rivers, I formed a posse, but a careful search of the territory disclosed no clues. The next day, I made out my report to Wells Fargo, suggesting that if they'd find Harry Gordon, we'd have the brains behind both holdups.
Hey, Hoppy, read this.
I'd known Jim as a child, and it had been hard for me to see him sent up. But the evidence was all against him. At the trial, Ted Clark, Ben's foreman, had sworn he saw the boy shoot through the window at his boss. Jim's shotgun was found nearby. Also, a note for $500, which he owed Samuels, had been discovered in the rancher's desk.
Kid must be out of his mind. Why do you suppose he wanted to go and do a crazy thing like that for?
To prove I was railroaded?
Jim.
Reach.
Jim, you must be out of your mind coming back here to Twin Rivers where everybody hates you for killing Ben Samuels.
I did not kill him.
And I never railroaded anybody either.
Sit down. I'm not blaming you, Hoppy. You did all you could for me. Well, it's just that everything happened so fast and so much evidence piled up against me that I almost believed it myself. That's why I broke out, to come back here and ask if you'd help me to prove that I'm innocent.
Jim admitted hating Ben ever since he'd shot his pet dog, claiming it had gone mad. When the boy insisted the man was no good, he was ridiculed. Everyone knew of Jim's feelings. That's why they'd been so ready to accept his guilt. The $500 note had been a forgery. He never knew how they got his shotgun, and Clark had deliberately lied about seeing him shoot Ben. They wouldn't listen to Jim's alibi that he'd been on the trail of one of the Wells Fargo holdup men.
Wells Fargo robbery. That was just a day or so before Ben's murder. It's quite a coincidence, eh, Hoppy?
Yeah. What made you think you were on the trail of a holdup man?
Well, I'd been rounding up strays, and it was almost dark when I heard a horse whinny behind me. Turned around to see who it was, and I saw a masked rider tearing off toward the hills. Well, I rode after him for quite a time, but he was too fast for me. Then Clark and some men rode up and accused me of murdering Ben.
Jim, for a lawman, this may seem strange to you, but I was never convinced that you were guilty of murder. So ever since you were sent up, I've been working on an idea that might prove that you didn't kill Ben. Now that you've risked your life to come back here, I'm going to do everything I can for you. But remember this. I still represent the law, and as far as I'm concerned, you're an escaped convict. If this thing isn't cleared up immediately, you're on your way back to the penitentiary. In the meantime, you're in my custody. Is that understood?
Oh, sure, Hoppy. And thanks.
Folks here in town find out about him, Hoppy, they'll lynch him as sure as shooting.
Yeah, you're probably right. We better take him up to that old line shack till I figure out what to do. Think you can get him out of here without anybody seeing you?
Oh, you know you can trust me, Hoppy.
Yeah, I know. Now, first I want to question Clark. That's Frank's foreman.
Frank? Who's Frank, Hoppy?
Ben's brother. He came out here from St. Louis for the funeral and stayed on to run the ranch.
Yeah, he did so well he was able to buy up most of the town. He even took over the bank when it failed.
I didn't even know Ben had a brother.
Yeah, spitting image of him. He's as blonde as Ben is dark. I'll go out and take a look and see if the coast's clear. Yeah, everything's all right. Come on.
Thanks, Hoppy.
See you, Hoppy. You better keep your horse hid around behind. I'll bring you some grub from town as soon as I can. Remember, keep out of sight.
I will. Thanks, Red.
With Jim's story and the recent Wells Fargo robbery fresh in my mind, I kept wondering if there might be some connection between Ben's death and that first holdup. There had been killers around. Maybe they hid out at Ben's, then killed him when he discovered them. Maybe Clark. It was Ted Clark, the man I'd wanted to question. He'd been shot in the back. Doc Weston was out on a call when I got Clark back to town. By the time he returned, it was too late. Before the body was removed, I'd asked the doc to extract the fatal bullet. It was from a .30-30 Winchester. Frank Samuels had hurried over from the bank when he heard the news. He ruefully admitted a dozen men in town had similar guns. The man was visibly shaken by the death of his foreman.
I can't understand who'd want to kill poor Ted.
No enemies, huh?
Well, none I know of except Jim Adams, and he's in prison.
Funny thing, I was just on my way out to ask Clark a few questions about the Adams case.
What for? That was all settled months ago.
Yeah, I know. But after this last holdup, I got thinking maybe there was some connection between Ben's death and this other robbery.
Impossible. Jim waited till Ben was helpless with a broken right leg. One I'd set that very day. Then shot point blank through the window at him. Never saw a face so banged up.
Well, maybe Ted was in with the holdup men. When Ben heard about it, he was murdered. Jim would have been the logical goat.
My brother always wrote to me how much he liked and trusted his foreman. And Clark, all the time he worked for me, his conduct was beyond reproach.
Oh, it is kind of funny, though, him being killed after this last holdup.
Oh, just a coincidence. He couldn't possibly have had anything to do with the Wells Fargo robbery.
Well, maybe I am on the wrong track.
I'm afraid you are, Cassidy.
While you're here, Frank, might as well take along your bottle of tonic.
Good idea. I'm arranging to have Ted buried on the ranch alongside of Ben.
Well, that's a nice gesture, Frank. Well, there you are.
Thank you, Doc. I sure hope you solve Ted's murder, Cassidy.
I'm afraid I've got a lot of things to solve.
Well, I'll have to get back to the office.
See you later, Frank.
Well, thanks very much, Doc. It's been very interesting. While Red rattled on about Clark's murder and that Jim was safe up at the shack, something in the back of my mind kept bothering me. The last time I'd been in Weston's office was when Red had a stomachache from eating too many flapjacks. I wondered where Doc got the money to refurnish his office so elegantly. He'd been drinking a great deal lately, and I knew his practice had fallen off. Then it hit me. Weston had mentioned Ben's broken right leg. That dead body I had seen had a broken left leg. That point never came up at Jim's trial. Come here. Sit down here. What's the matter? Stick out your tongue. Say ah.
Huh?
Oh, no.
What's wrong?
I'm going to have to get you over to Dr. Weston's for a thorough physical examination.
Me? Examination? What for?
You don't look too well.
Oh, I never felt better in my life, Hoppy. I don't?
No, that's got me worried. You're not a very good color. Your skin's kind of green.
Yes? You know, now that you mention it, I don't feel so good. I feel kind of squeamish.
We better get you over there and see what he'll prescribe, huh?
I don't feel very good, Hoppy. We better get over there.
Yeah. While Red was in the other room being examined, I searched through Doc's papers. I had to work fast. Glancing at an account book, I was surprised to find large fees charged to Frank Samuels. Why should such a healthy-looking man have so many doctor bills?
Again. Once more. Your heart is perfect. And so's your temperature. Nothing wrong with you except you eat too much.
I always say, Doc, I'd rather die of eating too much than to starve to death. Hey, that reminds me, I got to get some grub out to Jim.
Jim?
Yeah, Jim's my cat. She's going to have some kittens. Got to have a lot of milk, you know, when they're having kittens. Jim's short for Jamina.
Well, don't worry. Cats have 9 lives.
Well, how's my boy, Doc?
Fit as a fiddle.
Ah, I'm glad to hear that. Say, why not give him some of that tonic Frank uses?
Why, yeah, sure. Can't hurt him.
Yeah, it'll make him think he's getting his money's worth.
Oh, Hoppy, I don't need it. I feel good.
You'll be all right now.
Oh, but Hoppy,
I sent a wire to St. Louis, then decided to ride out to Samuel's ranch for a look around.
By the time you got here, I was beginning to feel my ribs.
what are you doing outside? I thought you was going to stay hid.
I thought I could at least get some water for myself. Did Hoppy talk to Clark? Has he found out anything?
I'll tell you what's happened as soon as I hide my horse. Here.
Clark's death sure doesn't help my case any.
No, but don't worry. Hoppy will think up something.
I hope so.
Seemed to me I heard shots in the distance, but I wasn't sure. Then the sound came again, and from the direction of the line cabin.
slugs. You got any?
Coming in after you.
That won't be necessary. Drop your gun.
Hey, that's Hoppy. Come on.
Get over there.
Boy, are we glad to see you, Hoppy.
Sure are.
Pick up their guns. There seem to be a lot of trigger-happy men around here lately.
We saw horses hit out and back. Figured that Wells Fargo robbers was holed up here.
Then why didn't you make sure before you started shooting?
Hey, wait a minute. Don't you two work for Samuels?
Sure. Been riding for him for over a month. He'll vouch for us.
I'll bet he would. Give them their guns, Red.
But Hoppy...
Give them their guns. All right, get out of here.
Why don't you arrest them, Hoppy? I'll bet they're the thieves themselves.
But there's somebody with more brains than they have back of these holdups. Jim, I think you'll be safer in jail. You better wait until it gets dark and bring him in. We waited until dark, then Red and I smuggled Jim into town and locked him up. This morning, I'd received an answer to my St. Louis wire confirming my suspicions, but I needed more evidence. Warning Red to keep his mouth shut and his eyes open, I once again was headed for the Samuels ranch. As I passed the bank, Frank was just entering. Luck was with me. Ben Samuels was buried up there by those trees. This was an unpleasant task, but it had to be done.
I knowed Hoppy should have arrested you, bushwhackers.
Where's the fellow we saw up at the shack?
Still up there, I suppose.
Oh, no, he's not.
What did you do with him? Where's Jim Adams?
Jim Adams? He's in the state penitentiary, I suppose.
Not according to the wanted poster we saw in the post office. Take a look around, Burke.
Well, what do you know about that? Right under our noses all the time.
So he was in the state penitentiary, huh?
Now, if you two men will come back in a couple of days, I'll have the papers drawn up for you and you can sign them. Well, hello, Cassidy.
Hi.
Any news of Ted's killer?
Can I talk to you alone?
Sure, come on in my office.
I've got a better idea. We'll take him over to the old fort. You're gonna get the same thing you gave Ben Samuel.
I didn't kill Samuel!
I see. Now, here's something that might interest you. I just got this telegram a while ago from the Wells Fargo agent in Tucson. Says he's got a hot lead on Harry Gordon.
Harry Gordon?
You remember him, the one-legged shotgun guard that disappeared after the holdup last April.
Oh, yeah. What kind of a lead?
Well, he says that somebody here in Twin Rivers tipped him off that he was here in the vicinity. The agent's coming over to investigate.
Well, I hope that bandit doesn't try to hold up my bank.
Oh, I don't think...
We'll take care of this ourselves. 1, 2.
Nobody's taking the law in their own hands while I'm marshal here.
You won't be marshal long. We don't want a law officer who hides out criminals. That's right.
Don't forget that I helped send Jim to prison as a murderer. When he risked his life to come back here and tell me he didn't kill Ben Samuels, I gave him the protection he deserved.
Don't let Cassidy hoodwink you. He's always had a liking for this kid. Don't you remember how he fought against jailing him? Have you forgotten what a good man Ben was? And that coward killed him in cold blood. Shot a helpless invalid without giving him a chance.
I've got 2 guns here that say nobody's going to touch that boy.
I'll drop him the second you try using him.
Maybe you should explain your reason for wanting Jim out of the way and why Ben's death concerns you so much.
Why, you...
Oh. I have more reasons than anyone for hating Adam. But like Cassidy, I don't go along with mob rule. Hoppy, here's the 2
Never mind,
on
Red.
the head.
Tex, you and some of the boys get Doc out of here. All right, break it up.
I'll take care of these fellas, Cassidy.
You better get them on their horses, pay them off, and get them out of town.
All right, follow me, fellas, and I'll pay you off.
Red thought I was crazy for not locking up the 2 men. But after I explained why I hadn't, he changed his mind.
Now start off like you're leaving town. Get the wagon and bring it around back, and hurry. Dick, come here, will you?
Yes.
Take this over to the post office. I wanted to get out on the next stage. I'll tend to things here.
All right. You going someplace, Samuels?
I was just checking the bank's funds.
Property of the U.S. Treasury. Bank's funds, huh? You also got a little careless about having your hair show dark at the roots. Or do you really drink that peroxide the doc gives you as a tonic?
I don't know what you're talking about.
You're under arrest for murder and robbery. You got any more ideas now, or you want to come along quietly?
Hey, Hoppy. They backtracked just like you figured they would. We sure surprised them.
That's good. But, Jim, you better start giving Ben here some pointers on prison life.
Ben Samuels?
In the flesh.
But we buried him. This is Frank. Look at his blonde hair.
It's a bleach job. There is no Frank Samuels from St. Louis. This man is Ben Samuels. He held up the stage and killed Gordon. Gordon is now buried in the grave that was supposed to have been Ben's. All right, come on. The same judge who had sent Jim to prison had presented the new evidence to the proper authorities and had received from the governor a full pardon for him. Jim had now been appointed by the judge as foreman of the Samuels Ranch until the estate could be settled. I explained why I had grown suspicious of Doc and Samuels, that Clark had been shot after the last holdup in a fight over the spoils. When I planted a seed of suspicion against Doc, he was killed. Ben had built up a false life over a period of years, and the only one who'd suspected him had been Jim. Hi there, little partners. I understand there's been quite a little talk around your house lately about going to bed. Now, I know that we all hate to go to bed. We're always so afraid we're going to miss something. But you must get a lot of sleep. And the time to go to bed is when your mommy or your daddy tell you to. Not 15 minutes later or 20 minutes later, or not 1 or 2 television shows later, but right now. I'll see you next week. Until then, get lots of good sleep, will you? Good night.
There he goes. the moonlit trail to where cowboys race. Hopalong Cassidy, Hopalong Cassidy, he'll return soon again. There's no use to say goodbye until then. Here he comes, here he comes. There's the trumpets, there's the drums, here he comes. Hopalong Cassidy, here he
Red Condors and I had come to Big Bend at the insistence of its Law and Order Committee. They hoped we could keep the peace until after its scheduled vote on a territorial charter. My old friend, banker Henry Warren, had told us that all previous elections to incorporate under a reform government had failed. Voters were intimidated by the gunslingers of Buck Staley, a ruthless gambler who bossed the wide-open town. So far, our mission had been kept a secret.
Boys, let's empty the stranger's pockets of the pile he just won at the saloon.
You ain't no stranger to me, Connie.
Let's get out of here.
Take care of him, Red.
Like my man was trying to shake me by taking a long about way into town. I figured I could get to the main road and still beat him there.
Who are you?
Cassidy, the town marshal.
Town marshal? Don't tell me this is another one of those Law and Order Committee jokes.
I'm afraid not. I'm arresting you for attempted highway robbery and assault with a deadly weapon.
You're arresting me, huh? You wait till Buck Staley hears about this.
He'll hear about it during visiting hours. In jail.
You've got nothing on me.
You can tell that to the judge. Hi, Henry.
Oh, hello, Hoppy.
Hello, Jenny. Hello. We just caught Corney pulling a hold-up job. I got him in jail. Red took his victim over to the doctor.
Good work, Hoppy. But Carney's only a henchman. If we could only get something tangible against Staley himself, then our elections could be run as they should be.
Well, we'll try to get an early date set for the trial. I'll ride over to the county seat and see if Judge Ferguson won't hold court here.
But we don't have a courthouse in Big Bend.
What's the matter with the bank?
Not a bad idea. I'll go see who our victim is.
Good. I want to have a talk with your niece. What do you hear if you play, Jenny?
Well, he just received a $5,000 fee from winning a very important criminal case. In fact, he's on his way to Big Bend. He'll be here tomorrow.
Oh, I'm glad to hear he's doing so well. You know, since he hung up his shingle back there, he hasn't written me. But I guess he's been kind of busy.
Well, that's no excuse. He should have known how disappointed you'd be. After all, as your favorite nephew, he owes you an explanation.
Well, he did write and tell me he wanted to get a little practical experience before he came back here. But now that he's coming back, I sure would like to see him serve as prosecutor in Big Ben's first criminal trial.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
That might convince him he should stay out here, huh?
He better. I mean, after all, you are entitled to some show on your money.
Well, I'm going over to the county seat to talk to Judge Ferguson. While I'm there, I'm going to ask him if he won't appoint Clay special prosecutor.
Think he'd like that?
Oh, I know he would.
Good. I'll see you later.
I've been expecting you, Staley. What are you carrying? 15 minutes.
Thanks.
Look, I want to get out of here. What are you grinning at?
A letter I just got from an ex-partner back in St. Louis. All about a young criminal lawyer who just pulled him out of a bad legal trap. The lawyer's name was Morgan. His fee was $5,000.
Is that supposed to make me feel better?
According to our mutual friend, Clay Morgan likes the kind of living that only money can buy.
And you think he may come out here?
If I make it worth his while.
Say, did you say Clay Morgan?
Yeah. Why?
Well, before Hoppy left for the county seat, I heard him tell Red that his nephew, Clay Morgan, was arriving tomorrow. He was going to try to get him appointed special prosecutor. Could be the same one.
Yeah, could be. Probably on his way here when Cassidy nabbed you. Now, Clay can't know anything about you or the charges against you, or what Cassidy has in mind for him. Besides, I think he'll work for the side that gets there firstest with the mostest, as the general said. That stagecoach doesn't leave the railhead till tomorrow morning. Clay's train gets there tonight.
I see what you mean.
I had ridden all night after my successful visit with Judge Ferguson. I wanted to surprise Clay and greet him with a special appointment. Let him know that I wasn't upset over his staying back in St. Louis. Jenny had already dragged Warren down to the stage depot.
You still got plenty of time to get to the edge of town, flag the stage down, and ride it in. Better luck next time, Clay.
Wish I'd taken time to clean up a bit.
She won't know the difference. That stage ride from the railhead's a rough one.
Yeah, sure. Well, I guess I better get out of here before somebody recognizes me. Uh-oh. I'll never make it. Fellow out there with Jenny and Warren is my uncle. Wonder what he's doing here. Well, I guess I might as well face the music.
You don't have to tell him you've been here all night.
Well, that isn't the worst of it. I was going to ask Jenny to go back to St. Louis as my wife, and now I can't.
Because of the money I won?
That's my worry, isn't it?
Oh, wait a minute, Clay. Maybe I can help.
No, forget it, Buck.
No, listen. This is business. Come on, sit down. It's about my friend Carney.
My advice is on the house. Anybody can get Carney out of that jam.
But I need somebody who knows all the answers. You want to go ahead with your wedding plans?
My wedding plans will take a lot of money. Why does Carney mean so much to you?
It's not only Carney. Nobody around here knows anything about due process of law. I'm afraid that so-called law and order committee's planning on using it to get rid of anybody that disagrees with them.
No, they can't do that.
You heard what happened to Carney. You said he was innocent.
I said he could be innocent in the eyes of the law.
All right. Prove that at his trial, and I'll tear up that check you gave me to cover your gambling losses. Fair enough?
You just made a deal, mister.
Yes, they paid up in the place of
I
theirs
wonder
now.
what keeps... Clay!
It was Clay, all right, but not the bright-eyed youngster who'd left the bar 25 years before. City living, success, different manners, clothes, society, all seemed to have changed him far beyond his years. I was hoping that the long journey or overwork had given him that tired look. If he was self-conscious about going against my wishes, he certainly didn't show it by the way he took my hand and said what a surprise it was to find me there. I was about to tell Clay the big surprise Jenny and I had arranged when he interrupted to explain how Buck Staley had made his acquaintance while he was waiting for the stage at the railhead, and then driven him to Big Bend in his carriage, a welcome relief after the long train ride. Warren and the Law and Order Committee had warned me that I was underestimating Buck Staley. I was wondering if he'd deliberately planned that meeting with Clay and why, when I heard Clay telling Jenny that she was going to get a chance to see him in action, right here in Big Bend.
Hoppy, Mr. Staley's just retained me to defend his business associate, Carney, in Big Ben's first criminal trial.
Staley's retained you?
Sure.
Why, what's wrong?
There's plenty wrong. But this is not the place to talk about it. Come on over to the bank.
Well, all right. How long do you think a decent community is going to put up with a law and order group that allows one person to jail its citizens for over 24 hours without benefit of a hearing?
But, Clay, there was no request for bail or counsel.
I was informed the prisoner requested transfer to the county seat until Big Ben was duly constituted to offer bail and counsel.
Well, I knew nothing about that.
Are you going to believe Carney or Hoppy?
I'm an attorney, Jenny. It's my first duty to believe the accused innocent until proven guilty.
Innocent? It's no secret that Carney works for Buck Staley and that Staley bosses the lawless element of this town.
Guilt isn't based on bad reputation, sir. To put an innocent person in prison is a terrible thing. An impartial court must have proof of guilt beyond all reason of a doubt.
And Judge Ferguson's court will have just that. Bearcat Smith told me that the voice of the man who tried to rob and murder him belonged to Carney. Now, what reason would he have for lying?
It all depends on the circumstances.
I ain't unlocking no jail, and Cassidy says so.
What is it, Red?
Oh, Staley brought this loco galoot in to have a look and listen to Rawhide Carney. Now he says we jailed the wrong man.
What's that?
Well, it's gospel, Mr. Warren. Rawhide Carney don't look or sound a thing like the arm that gun whipped me.
But just after it happened, you swore to me that...
I guess I was still out of my head. You must have been putting words in my mouth.
Why, you lying? Get away from me.
We don't need your help, Clay.
All right, get on your feet.
Hoppy, I'd advise you to release Carney on the grounds of insufficient evidence.
But, Clay, All right, Red, go release the prisoner.
I told you our town wasn't ready for your newfangled ideas on law enforcement. Now look where it's got us.
Oh, I don't know, Henry. We haven't lost yet.
Actually, you've won. Today, we've just seen justice triumph through due process of law instead of the six-gun. So let's all go over to my saloon and celebrate. Drinks are on the house.
Wait a minute. Hoppy, if Carney and his cutthroats are free to celebrate, they might get out of hand.
That's right, Staley. So there'll be no more drinks served in town today.
So we'll go out of town to my hacienda. I'll give a party.
Staley, get out of this bank.
Well, sure, Henry. See you later at my place, Clay.
Bearcat, I want a sworn statement of what you just said here a while ago.
He lives just north of town. Draw up your statement. He'll sign it. Come on.
Jenny, I'm sorry we haven't had more time to get together, but now that this is all over, maybe we can start to make some plans.
I'm afraid we're not interested in your plans.
Jenny?
I don't know, Clay. I'm all mixed up. Please, just go away and leave me alone.
Would you hand me my hat, please?
Hi, Clay. Sit down.
I know how ungrateful I must seem to you, Hoppy.
Well, Clay, I don't feel that way about it. You did what you thought was right.
I know, but this is the second time I've let you down.
Every man should be guided by his own conscience.
That's right. My reasons for defending Carney weren't wrong.
Certainly not. You're a lawyer.
I just should have looked into the motives behind the man who hired me.
That's right.
You finished writing that deposition of Bearcat Smith's testimony?
Yeah, I just finished it. How about giving it a professional going over?
Saloons are all closed, Hoppy. Carney's boys are nowhere in town.
That's good. They're probably all gone out to Staley's place.
It looks all right. A few errors, but we can correct them on the way out. Do you mind if I ride with you? I want to talk to Bearcat again.
Aren't you going to Staley's celebration?
Guess I have to later.
All right, you can come along with me. He can use your horse, can't he, Red?
Sure, help us out.
Thanks.
All right.
These statements are full of mistakes. What's the matter with you, girl?
Oh, I'm sorry, Uncle Henry, but I just can't get my mind off Clay.
After what he's done to this town, to us, and to you?
It's what we might have done to him that worries me. I turned my back on him just when he needed me the most. Uncle Henry, right or wrong, my place is with him.
I forbid it.
I'm sorry, Uncle.
Yes, ma'am. He left here about an hour ago with Hoppy, and I think he said he was going over to Staley's place.
Oh, thank you.
But why drive all the way back to town, Miss Jenny? Clay will be here pretty soon. Let me fix you something cool to drink.
Oh, no, thank you. Please don't let me interrupt your card game. I'll just wait out here in the garden.
Well, as you wish. Make yourself at home. Here we are.
She said.
I know I ain't invited. But you go tell Buck Staley that Bearcat Smith is out here and wants to see it. Pronto.
My hand. You should have had better sense than to come here today, Bearcat.
Well, I had to. Cassidy's got Clay Morgan figuring that you paid me to lie about Carney. They've been out to my place pumping me.
You slipped up?
No, Buck, but they ain't gonna let me up till I do. I'm scared. Why didn't you tell me that they could send me up for lying about that story?
Bearcat, you better get out of town.
Well, that's just why I'm here. You give me the payoff and I'll be on my way. Why, Cassidy won't even allow me to spit on the street from now on.
I haven't got that much cash here.
Now, Staley, if you're trying to welch on...
No. I'm not trying to welch. As a matter of fact, I'm going to give you 10 times the amount I agreed to.
Where's that girl?
Hey, this check's signed by Clay Morgan.
Sure, he's my attorney. All you have to do is endorse it on the back.
Wow. It's made out for almost $5,000. Who's got that much cash?
Henry Warren. He knows Clay's good for it, too. If you hurry, you can get that money today before the bank closes.
You know, this is the first time I've ever been paid to leave any place. Thanks.
All right, sister, you've heard enough. Staley, this little lady was mighty interested in your palaver out there.
Well, it's too bad, Miss Jenny. Now you'll have to write Uncle Henry a little note saying you eloped with Clay Morgan.
Clay is still in town.
He won't be for long. Not after Uncle Henry shows a few people that check I just gave to Bearcat Smith.
I guess I'd better be going if I'm going to catch that railhead coach.
I don't know why you want to leave here. Why don't you stick around a while?
I'll be back to help you if you nail Bearcat Smith or any of the Staley gang, whether Warren likes it or not. Meanwhile, I can't make any money here.
Clay, someday you're going to find out there are more important things in the world than money. For instance, what are you going to do about Jenny?
Well, that's up to her. I'm about as popular with her as I am with the Law and Order Committee. Anyway, I want a wife who's going to stick by regardless of what happens.
Howdy, man. Jenny finds you, Clay?
Jenny?
Yeah, she was in here about an hour ago. She's mighty anxious to see you.
What's
the matter with that guy?
He's not as tough as he sounds, is he?
What's this check and payment for?
What's it to you?
We'll see what the marshal says about it.
Hold it, Warren. Give me that check.
Drop that gun.
I caught him robbing the bank.
You murdered him to keep him quiet about this check. It's as plain as day. Clay bribed him to swear a lie and killed him when I got suspicious.
Let me see that. Well, it is your signature. What would you be paying him nearly $5,000 for?
$5,000? Well, I didn't give him that check.
Well, then what was he doing with it?
Arrest him, Hoppy.
Stay where you are.
Put down that gun, Clay.
Sorry, Hoppy. Maybe Warren was right. Maybe Big Ben's not ready for our newfangled ideas.
Well, that may be true, but I can still help you.
You're helping him get away with murder. What more? I'll get a posse.
That's as far as you're going, Henry. This is my job.
It'll be your last one. I'll see to that.
Red, keep him here till I get back.
I called the party off. I didn't think you could make it.
I found this scarf in the seat of that buckboard outside. What are you trying to pull now, Staley?
Pull? I don't understand.
Oh, stop it. Where's Jenny Warren? What have you done with her?
Well, Clay, you're my attorney, my friend. I wouldn't try to steal your girl.
No, just like you wouldn't try to frame me with that check you gave Bearcat Smith when you promised you'd tear it up.
What check?
Never mind that now. Get up. You're going to take me to Jenny.
Look around you, Clay. You see, it's nicer this way. If you'd have shot me, who can tell what might have happened to Miss Jenny?
Why, you dirty rat.
Let's go, boys. The young lovers are united at last.
Get it, boys?
No, I don't get it, Carney. Explain. All right, Clay, get the gun.
Yes, sir, Marshal.
All right, come on. Get out of here. Red, get them all out of here. Take them over to jail.
All right, get out of the way. All right.
What a gang. Henry, I'm sorry I had to get a little rough this afternoon.
That's all right, Hoppy. You had your job to do.
Well, Bearcat was bribed all right, but Clay didn't do it. Jenny's testimony will clear him and convict Staley.
On one condition.
What's that?
The next time Clay Morgan goes poker playing, he'll leave his checkbook home with me.
You're in for trouble, son. Hi there. Did you hear what the man said? I did, and I agree with every word of it. If you buy his product, I'm sure you'll like it, and it'll tickle my sponsor to death. Now, a thought for my little partners. Be happy and proud that you're an American. Remember, there are millions of little boys and girls all over the world that'd give anything for that privilege. Until next week, so long and good luck to you.
On his way, down the moonlit trail to where cowboys race. Hopalong Cassidy, Hopalong Cassidy, he'll return soon again. There's no use to say goodbye until then. Hopalong Cassidy, here he comes, here he comes. There's the trumpets, there's the drums, here he comes. Hopalong Cassidy, here he comes.
The Bar 20 was peaceful and quiet after the spring roundup. I was catching up on my bookkeeping, which I'd allowed to accumulate. Red was helping me. That is, he was helping me. Red was like a growing boy, just interested in eating and sleeping. Red. Red!
256, 257. Where are you going?
You recognize that horse?
No, never seen him before.
Here. He doesn't seem hurt. He probably rode this far and fell off his horse from exhaustion.
I bet a little food and warm milk will fix him up. Probably will. Let's get him in.
The hot milk and food did the trick. His name was Billy Murdoch. His father, Tom, was a good friend of mine. Perhaps I should have recognized Billy, but he was only 7 the last time I'd visited his home. There's a little more right there.
Thanks for taking me in, Hoppy.
Ah, that's all right, son. Now, what's this visit all about?
I rode over from National City because I need your help.
But why didn't your father come with you?
He disappeared. Everybody thinks he's dead.
He disappeared. Well, you better tell me all about this.
3 weeks ago, Dad left to work his gold mine and never came back.
Well, that's strange. Have there been any searching parties out for him?
The sheriff and his posse couldn't find a trace of Dad, but his horse was out there, not far from the mine entrance.
Tell me, did your mother know you were coming to see me?
No, sir. She would have stopped me.
Oh, not your mother.
You're thinking of my real mother, Hoppy.
Sure.
She died 3 years ago.
Oh, I'm sorry, son.
For the past year, I've had a stepmother. Her name's Dorothy, and she's very pretty. She's been awful good to me, and I love her.
I'll bet you do. We'll go home with you.
Gee, Hoppy, that's swell. I knew I could count on you.
Now, tell me something. Do you think your dad is dead?
I don't know, Hoppy. Of course, I've been hoping and praying he's still alive. That's what I wanted you to help me with. Then...
Then what?
Do you believe in ghosts?
Why, certainly not.
I know it's silly, but everyone around our house has been talking about ghostly happenings.
Well, that is silly.
That's what I told Miss Kerner,
Miss Kerner?
our housekeeper. She's a spooky old lady. She believes in ghosts.
Oh, I do remember Miss Kerner.
If she's as spooky as that, Hoppy, we better not go home with him.
Oh, she's not that bad, Red. Now, what did you mean by ghostly happenings?
Well, things happened that only my dad could do. One night, they found one of his spurs on our living room floor. He had the spurs on when he disappeared.
What else happened?
Another time, Father's horse carried on something awful and tried to break out of his stall. Miss Kerner said no critter would act up like that in the middle of the night unless something scared it.
Billy, do you think your father could be hiding out for any reason?
No, sir. He talked a lot to me. I'd know if something was wrong.
Ah, you're probably right. So you get some rest and we'll leave for your house the first thing in the morning. Up you come. I'll give you another pillow here. We had left the bar 20 early the next morning. About 4 miles from National City, we met Sheriff Lane and his posse who were looking for Billy. I explained about him. We rode on toward town. I couldn't learn anything new from the sheriff. He was convinced the boy's father was dead. As for the ghostly happenings, the sheriff scoffed at the idea. He said in his opinion it was all the imagination of the housekeeper, and yet he couldn't explain how that spur got into the living room. Billy's mother was so glad to see him, she forgot all about scolding him for going off alone. She appreciated my coming over and naturally would do everything to help, but she feared any effort to find Tom would be useless.
Well, I've got some work to do. Thanks for bringing the boy home, Mr. Cassidy. Next time you decide to go someplace, let me in on it, will you?
I will, Sheriff.
Where's the best place in town to eat, Mrs. Murdoch?
Our place. You and Mr. Cassidy will be my guests.
That's very kind of you, Mrs. Murdoch, but I want to warn you. He'll eat you out of house and home.
Hey, here comes Uncle Henry. Hello, Uncle Henry.
Billy, where have you been?
I brought Mr. Cassidy to find my dad.
That's Henry Grant, the banker. He's a good friend of ours, an executor of the estate. He's been so helpful. Billy calls him Uncle.
I'm so happy the boy is back.
Mr. Cassidy, Mr. Connors, this is Uncle Henry Grant. He takes care of our money.
Nice of you to come over, Mr. Cassidy.
Very happy to do anything for a good cowboy like this.
Come on, let's get home. I'm hungry, too.
I'll tell you what we do. You three go ahead, and I'll come out a little later. I want to have a talk with Mr. Grant.
Ah, shucks. I didn't want to go home without you.
I'll be there soon enough.
Well, we can wait. Henry was coming out this evening for supper anyway.
That's right, Dorothy, but there's a few things I must clean up at the bank.
Won't it keep?
I'm afraid not.
We'll see you later.
Bye.
Uncle Henry was very cooperative. He'd only been in National City the past 3 years. However, he knew Tom and I were friends. He said there was no reason for Tom to voluntarily disappear. The ranch was operating at a profit, and Tom had high hopes of striking a rich vein in his mine. I asked about his will. Mrs. Murdoch was well taken care of, and a trust fund was set up for Billy. Well, I'm glad to hear that Mrs. Murdoch and the boy are going to be taken care of. Now, what is your opinion of this ghost business?
Oh, it could be just Mrs. Kerner's imaginings. She's an odd woman. Seems to resent Tom's second wife. Frankly, I think she's just trying to frighten Dorothy.
You're probably right. Well, I'll see you out at Mrs. Murdoch.
Yes, indeed.
Thank
you
you
for coming in.
You believe in ghosts, don't you? Don't you?
Well, Miss Kerner, I don't know.
I'm telling you, Tom Murdoch's ghost is haunting this house. It's no wonder with all the goings-on around here.
The goings-on?
Poor Mr. Murdoch couldn't rest peaceful, no matter where he is. He had to come back.
Why?
Why, it's a disgrace the way the second Mrs. Murdoch carries on with Frank Ellis, the foreman. I caught them whispering a couple of times.
You couldn't be imagining things just because you dislike her so.
I have good reason for disliking her. And I'll tell you something else. Ellis was hired right after Tom married this girl. I found out Ellis and she came from the same town.
Miss Kerner, do you happen to know the terms of Mrs. Murdoch's will?
Yes, I wasn't left anything. If Estelle had lived, I'd have been taken care of. But don't you get any ideas that I knew anything about Tom's disappearance. I loved him like my own flesh and blood.
Well, I'm in hopes he's still alive and that I can find him.
You're wasting your time.
Miss Kerner, I appreciate the way you feel about all this, but I don't think it's a good idea for you to talk so much about Mrs. Murdoch.
Why not? She was no good for Tom. She's no good for the boy. She's no good for any man if they'd have her. She's not satisfied with playing up to the foreman. She's even trying to make up to Mr. Grant.
Oh?
He's a fine man, though. He won't have anything to do with the likes of her.
Hoppy, I was looking for you.
Well, I've been trying to earn my board and keep helping Miss Kerner.
Let me see those hands. I hope you've washed for dinner. Somebody has to tell you what to do. Your stepmother doesn't pay any attention to you.
Did she tell you about the ghost?
Oh, sure. Well, we won't talk about that anymore, huh?
Hoppy, after supper, could we go for a ride?
After supper, Hoppy's going for a ride around the country.
Can't I go with you?
No, not this time. You better stay here. But I'll tell you what.
What?
Tomorrow morning, you can take me out and show me your daddy's mine.
I know a shortcut. We'll be there in no time.
Good.
Hoppy, it's Frank Ellis, the foreman.
I'm glad to know you, Mr. Cassidy.
Hi, Ellis.
I suppose you've been told all about the ghost.
I heard quite a lot.
Well, I have an idea the boss just decided to leave for reasons best known to him.
Mr. Ellis, you stop talking like that.
You look here, Billy. You get out in that kitchen and see if food's ready. I understand you were a close friend of the kid's father.
Yeah, even though I haven't seen him for quite a while. Say, you said your boss just decided to leave for reasons best known to himself. What did you mean by that?
Just a hunch. With that entry.
What about it?
It's in Tom's handwriting. It wasn't there yesterday.
Well, it does look like the same writing. You sure that's a new entry?
Positive. Tom's pipe. And smoke. Recently.
Hey, Hoppy, I am beginning to believe in ghosts.
You would. I can't say the supper that evening was the most pleasant meal I'd ever had. I'd heard a lot, and strange as it seemed, Miss Kerner was right. Mrs. Murdoch was playing these two men against each other. To make sure I wasn't missing anything, she turned toward me and smiled as if to say, "See, what did I tell you?" However, two people at the table were oblivious of all the undercurrents. They were enjoying their food. I had ridden over the countryside during the night and found no trace of Tom. Early the next morning, I was ready to leave for the mine with Red and Billy. Mrs. Murdoch was impressing the boy with the importance of staying close to me during the trip. I happened to glance toward a window. Hatred, envy, everything bad seemed to be surging through Miss Kerner's veins. I wondered if she resented the fact that she was cut out of the inheritance. But I had things to do, trying to figure Miss Kerner's strange mind would come later.
I hope they have a pleasant ride.
Frank, you startled me.
Pleasant ride's all they'll get out of it.
Don't be so bitter. I was hoping against hope that...
Look, we both know Tom's dead. I don't like having strangers around here. I can take care of you and the boy.
You've been a bit gruff with Billy. I wish you'd stop it, Frank.
I don't mean to be. It's just that I'm nervous and upset.
You're so sure Tom is dead. How do you explain the writing in the account book?
I don't know, really. Could be I was mistaken.
It's just as frightening as the other things we've seen.
Look, Dorothy, I wanted to...
Billy led us directly to the mine. I abandoned all thought of examining the ground. Dozens of people had already been there. Evidently, Tom had started this new tunnel just before he disappeared. Something of a bright color caught my eye. It was a man's neckerchief. I decided to say nothing about it, yet.
Find anything?
No, son, I'm sorry. I told Red and Billy we'd take a look at the surrounding country. The boys seemed disappointed because I found nothing more encouraging. As we headed back, I couldn't help thinking that after all, there might be something to the foreman's idea that Tom was hiding out, for reasons best known to him. And yet Murdoch was not the kind of fellow to do a thing like that.
My nerves are about to crack, Henry. These past 3 weeks have been unbearable.
Dorothy, you've got to get hold of yourself.
Tom's disappearance wasn't enough. Those other things had to happen.
You ought to get that crazy ghost thing out of your mind. Things like that can't happen.
But they did. Tom's spur might have been here on the floor all the time. Maybe an innocent noise frightened his horse. But the writing in that account book, I tell you, Henry, that is not anyone's imagination playing tricks.
And I tell you to forget it.
I can't. I'm frightened. You saw the handwriting. You know it was my husband's. You examined the pipe.
Yes, I admit I can't give you any explanation now, but it will all work out.
You think Mr. Cassidy might uncover something?
He's very clever. But who can find a man who's dead, wandered off into the wasteland, or catch a ghost?
Henry, I'm going away. I can't stand anymore.
I believe that would be the best thing for you and the boy. I'll keep you advised.
You're a good friend, Henry.
Ellis is a capable foreman. Everything here will be all right. Take Miss Kerner along to help with Billy.
I don't want her along.
Why not?
She makes me nervous. And what's more, when I return, I want her to be gone. Fire her.
Mrs. Murdoch had identified the neckerchief as her husband's. I was determined to stay up all night if necessary to see what ghostly manifestation would take place. I knew of Mrs. Murdoch's desire to leave the place, and I didn't like it. Red was keeping me company in his usual way.
There you are, Hoppy. I looked in your room.
What's going on? What are you doing up so late?
I couldn't sleep. Please don't scold me.
Oh, certainly not.
I want to be brave, but I'm scared.
You're not alone, Billy.
You know the trouble with him. He has nightmares because he eats too much.
I guess if you couldn't find my dad, Hoppy, I reckon what people say is true.
Oh, Billy, I don't know what to think.
You've done all you could, and
And what?
I read in a book, when you know something terrible is going to happen, you grit your teeth and face it.
That's right.
And be brave. Where does courage come from, Hoppy?
Oh, Billy, I guess nobody really knows. People perform heroic deeds, and they wonder where the courage came from. I think the best answer's in the Bible. It says, "Be of good courage, and he shall strengthen your heart. All ye that hope in the Lord."
I'll remember that. Mr. Connors? Could I speak to Hoppy alone?
Oh, sure.
Now, young man, what is this all about?
I tell you, Tom was wearing this ring the day he disappeared.
Miss Kerner, you say you found this ring on the table?
Yes, Mr. Grant, right there. Now won't you believe in ghosts?
Don't you dare use that word again.
It is uncanny.
Well, Red, we'd better go in and see the sheriff. Looking for something, Mr. Ellis? Keep your hands off that gun.
I didn't kill Tom.
Nobody's accusing you yet.
I just came here looking for him. I figured he must be around, especially after that ring business.
See, you're a bit confused, ain't you, mister? A minute ago, you was telling us you didn't kill him. Now you're telling us he's around here somewhere.
I'm a little mixed up. I don't know what I'm saying.
Quiet.
Get back in.
Get it.
All right, turn around.
Oh, looks like we all had the same idea.
What idea is that, Mr. Grant?
We thought we might find Tom alive.
You knew Tom Murdoch was dead because you came right back to the spot where he's buried, under that rock and dirt. You killed him, then caused that cave-in to hide him.
Well, that's impossible. How about that ring? Tom was in the house last night. Unless you believe in ghosts.
I don't, but I almost had you convinced. I put that ring on the table myself. Tom gave it to the boy before he left the house the morning you killed him. Billy gave the ring to me last night. He knew he was leaving here and he didn't want to lose it.
You're lying. Dorothy would have known the boy had the ring.
He never told her anything about it. The ring meant a lot to him and he didn't want it taken away from him.
That still doesn't prove I killed Tom.
Tom trusted you and he told you all about the rich vein in this new tunnel. You created all that ghost business to frighten his wife away from here, then you could have taken over everything. I was quite sure that when the guilty party heard about that ring, they'd rush right out here to see if Tom's body was where they left it. And that's just what you did. Go on, go ahead with the lights. Come on. We took Grant to National City and turned him over to Sheriff Lane. Red still wanted some things explained. I relieved Red's worries. Grant had forged the handwriting. Mrs. Murdoch was suspicious of Grant all the time. But hoped to get him angry enough to tip his hand. She knew he was in love with her and resented Alice's presence on the place. Billy was taking it like a man. A new executor would be appointed, As for Miss Kerner, she would stay on. The poor soul thought all the time Dorothy had killed her husband. Then we took leave of our friends. Billy wanted to whisper something in my ear. You know what he said? Be of good courage, and he shall strengthen your heart, all ye that hope in the Lord.
Goodbye. Hi there, my little friends. Have you been washing your face and hands good lately? How about your ears? They look pretty good. Don't forget that soap and water not only keeps you nice and clean, but it also protects your health. So use lots of it, won't you? I'll see you next week.
On his way, down the moonlit trail to where cowboys stray. Hopalong Cassidy, Hopalong Cassidy, he'll return soon again. There's no use to say goodbye until then. Hopalong